You are listening now to the Spirituality Now podcast, the show that is solely focused on practical spirituality, leadership, and mindset skills with the aim and purpose of supporting you master your life. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I don't know why I wanted to sing it right now. I am your host, Yvonne de la Flor. A couple of news before I introduce you. Are awesome, super loving. I think love is the essence of his work, of his flow, of his service, of his existence on earth. But before that, a couple of notices. We are moving into video podcasting. It takes me a long time, many years, since I'm a believer of the bamboo thing, that the bamboo grows first for years underground and blah, 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 blah. The reason I'm saying blah, blah, blah is because I repeat this in every podcast. But now we have finally decided. So in the next months, we will move into video. And in the meantime, we will continue to be in all the podcast platforms. We are going to continue to be a philanthropic podcast. No advertisement, no shenanigans here to sell you anything. So you can have our guests fully for you all. No commercials, no nothing. That's why this podcast is produced by Brilliant Futures Productions. Shout out to that company producing it, us, editing us, and now taking us into video. A couple of new people that we're bringing to the team that when it's time, we will introduce them to you all. It's also sponsored by De La Flor Teachings International, a mentorship, coaching, and consulting, systemic and spiritual company. That's all that I want to say about that. And we have such an amazing team of DTI. Shout out to Sophie Montero, who's always doing magic with this podcast, to David, and to all the incredible people that are helping us get the word of our guests out in such a pure form. So that's all the little intro thing that I had for you all to do. So now I'm going to introduce you to my guest, and I've been kind of waiting for this because again, I think I should pay Mr. Grover eventually because again, my guest, I met him through the incredible Tim Grover and Shari Wang, through a group that they had called Down and Dirty, and that's how I met him. Our guest today is Shadin El-Kasheef. Shadin, like Aladdin, that's how I was told to pronounce his name. He was a former emergency department nurse since 2009. Shadin is someone that understands the complexity of health and the gaps that exist in the current healthcare system. Wow. Talk to me about that. Access to timely and effective care is a major challenge that many face, especially the disenfranchised and vulnerable population in today's society, which, may I say, is growing. Furthermore, we live in a digital obsessed society that see it as normal to be constantly stimulated and overburdened with work, stress that leave little room for silent reflection, and this leave the body less time for rest or relaxation and very little time for healing. His goal is to eliminate psychological suffering worldwide using mental fitness and the always choose love philosophy. His mental fitness is composed of 4 components, and this is the proponents. This is what he proposes: radical acceptance, growth mindset, mindfulness, and meditation. Beautiful Shadin. Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to just preface this by saying that anything that I say is based off of my experience. And I think life is just perspective. So how other people see things is based on what they've experienced in their life. And in terms of meditation, mindfulness, growth mindset, and radical acceptance, everyone has their own definitions of how they see that. So I'm going to explain from my point of view. And I want to preface it also by I don't know anything because I'm always learning, and that's what I'm finding every day. I'm learning something new, and I'm making mistakes, as we said earlier.
We hope so. We hope so.
Yeah, that's how we go, right?
Yeah, that's how we roll. So I love that you said that. So already, you're setting the tone for this podcast. And I want to mention something, the Buddha, every time that his disciples used to narrate or tell something about the Buddha, they will start with these words: thus have I heard, which is an opening and an invitation for people to choose their own thoughts, to understand that what others are saying is their experience, like what you just said, and for everybody to make their own choices, try it on, see what it fits and what it doesn't, let it go. So Shadin, well, let's start with something. And I have this kind of personal ritual with all of our guests. And I really would like to know about little Shadin, which usually the inner child is not that little, right? The inner child tends to be, when we're adults, the force, the passionate, the reminder that whispers to our soul, don't quit on me, keep going, keep growing, and keep godding. That's how I call it. So tell us a little bit about the story of how, not only, obviously you cannot tell us just very quickly how you became you right now, but what's the story of Shadin? What's the inner child story that took you into choosing love and live it as a philosophy?
That's an interesting question. So my inner child, I still think I am a child. And this is one thing. Okay, for all the parents out there, I'm not a parent, but I understand. I can see from a parent's perspective how even when I'm 36 years old, how even when, say, someone's 50, 80, and their parents are still alive, they see them as a child, right? I still understand that, right? And I think a part of what's missing in society is people are forgetting to play, because there's a balance, right? There's working hard, but you have to also play, because if you're constantly working hard, you're in fight or flight. And that's why meditation is so important. It gets you to silence. Like, it gets you to. So for people that don't know, a lot of people, like, so fight or flight is when you're basically anxious and thinking that something bad's gonna happen. And then when you're in your parasympathetic nervous system, that's when you're in relaxation mode. So breath work, that's why it's very important. So for my inner child, I still act like a child. I still like to dance. I still like to play. I still like to have fun. But at the same time, I'm ultra competitive. I'm very. I've been competitive since I was a child. Like, I remember when I was 11 years old, 12 years old, grade three and four, or four and five. We used to have track and field, and I joined all the races and I won all the races. So I've always been competitive, but I've always, like, I can make friends very easily. And I'm from Africa and Sudan, and my grandmother actually used to say that all the kids used to come and play in front of the house, and, like, she wouldn't like that. But I think I can make friends very easy, because I'm childlike. I like to have fun, but at the same time, I can be serious when we need to be serious. Um, does that answer your question, or did you want me to kind of expand on that?
No, no, no. It's more a sharing about who's Shadin, why did little Shadin, and you were going there, right? Why did little Shadin chose the path that adult Shadin is going through? Even though you still have a big child in you, I think we all, and I love the reminder of we need to play, but what's the story of Shadin? Like, what made you choose the philosophy of love? And most of the times, and you are just sharing about it, it comes from our childhood or teenage years, or it comes from the famous, but not necessarily 100% truth. The why you do what you do. Where did it start? And where did it come from?
So for me, I I'm teaching people from my perspective how I eliminate psychological suffering and find purpose and meaning in my life. And I believe, so I come from two loving parents, and my dad, I always just remember these two things from my dad. He's like, help people and do good. That's the only thing that I really remember from my dad. Like, he never really, that's the biggest lesson. So for me, how I got to this point is I had to go through my own kind of dark night of the soul in order to come up the other side. And there's a great saying that it says something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, but it says, I'm here with buckets of water for those still in the fire. So I believe that's what we're meant to do. Whatever we overcome, whatever we get through, I think our purpose in life, because everyone wants to know, what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose? I'm sure you've read that book, Man's Search for Meaning. And I think you have to find meaning in the suffering. So I think the stuff that I've been through, um, the reason I went through it is that I had to overcome it in order now to help others, and that's what my purpose in life is. That's why it's to eliminate psychological suffering, because I've suffered to a degree where, like, some stuff I don't even want to get into because it's
Yeah.
kind of, it's very deep. But there's a concept that I have. It's called "I'm something like you. I'm nothing like you. I'm nothing but you." It's not my concept. It's a concept I learned from my yoga teacher, Diane. Where basically we're all the same. We've all experienced some sort of suffering, and nobody's suffering is more than anybody else's. It's all equal. It's hard to be a human, man, woman, um, and a lot of people, they get through things, but they actually don't. They don't end up sharing their story, because I think, like, your testimony can help somebody else. But again, everybody is on their own path. Everybody's on their own journey, and our journey, I believe, is to help people elevate their consciousness, to become more conscious. Because once you become more conscious, you realize that the lie is the lie. Like, when you realize a lie is a lie, then, like, you're like, oh, why do I have to be scared of this? And as you mentioned earlier, like, there's a lot of psychological suffering going on because of social media, and people don't silently reflect. And where are our thoughts coming from? Our thoughts are coming from external stimuli. So when we're a child, they say from 0 to 6 up to 11 years old, we're programmed in our subconscious to have these false beliefs about the world, and they show up in adulthood, and people aren't aware of it because they never take time to sit with themselves without having external stimuli. So I
Yes.
think that's
And
where it comes from. That's why my mission is, that's why the path I'm leading is the
right.
path, because I've been through it. I've been through the fire, and now literally I say I'm living heaven on earth, even though, like, it's not heaven on earth. It's just perspective, because I know heaven on earth exists. It's in our mind. That's why my brand's called Mental Fitness. Right? It starts in the mind, and then it manifests in the physical form.
Mm. And through you creating this, and I know I appreciate that you just said I don't want to go into the deep suffering that I have because it has been very deep. We've had in the show incredible people that have shared, wow, the deepest things. I myself, as a facilitator for more than 25 years now of family constellation, shadow works, trauma integration, I've had in my arms people that have gone through everything, and literally in my arms, from abuse, from crimes of war, from people that were removed their nails in front of the family because their clothing was not long enough. I've had every single person, every single tragedy. Besides, my personal tragedies are small compared to them. But as you said, suffering is suffering. But I appreciate something that sometimes when we continuously share suffering, we spread it and we share it with people, and that's okay. But when we begin to share how we thrive from it, how we were able to slow down from it, how we were able to gain perspective and heal, instead of just sharing, we multiply the good. So thank you for doing that work. So let me ask you a couple of questions, since in your bio it says, so I know that meditation is important for you and for what you offer others for their own development. How has it benefited you? What do you see has improved in you? What do you think is still a challenge for you that meditation helps? Tell us all about your journey through meditation.
So my journey for meditation. So right now, actually, yesterday I did 5 day kind of detox from everybody. I actually don't have a phone now. I got rid of my phone. I'm not going on social media, because what I found in the last week, in my experience, is that I have a lot more energy. I've actually been up since midnight, so I feel awake. I feel energized, because I believe that social media, it takes away your attention, and everything for me is energy. So when you meditate, you're basically kind of like in a hibernation type of state. So I take the bus, and I was sitting the other day, and I was just looking, observing people. And I see people close their eyes to kind of take like a little nap. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of like meditation. We're kind of like computers. Our minds are kind of like computers. And when you go into like sleep mode, you're essentially meditating. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense as long as it makes sense to you. But how has it helped you? Like, have you noticed that not only because you kind of we went into the social media thing, but the practice of meditation that you do, being aware of the moment, being mindful. You also say in your bio that you practice mindfulness and those you serve. Being mindful, and part of your meditation is to release things like social media and things. How has it impacted you? Do you notice more calm? Do you notice more tranquility? How have
Yes.
you been able to be more present with others? Like, tell us a little bit about it, because people don't know it. Techniques, we can give them all the time. But how has it impacted you that can invite others to experience maybe a little bit of that?
For me, so I say I live heaven on earth. I believe that mindfulness is the tool to allow you to be, the cliche, if you're anxious, you're living in the future, and if you're depressed, you're living in the past. I believe that's very true, and from my experience, my own experience, mindfulness and meditation has allowed me to be more aware that the thoughts in my head are not my thoughts. So I read the book Eckhart Tolle last year, and when he said, "Who is the observer of your thoughts? That's your higher consciousness." When he said that to me, I'm like, "Oh, like right now I'm thinking, I'm looking at Starbucks sign. But like who's observing me, observing myself, looking at the Starbucks sign?" That is our higher consciousness. So there's something that's observing our thoughts. So where are our thoughts coming from? Our thoughts are coming from our external stimuli. So when we meditate and close our eyes, then we're not getting that external stimuli, because our consciousness, we know we're alive just because of our five senses. So if we didn't have any senses at all, would we know that we are alive? That's the question that I ask people. Just consider that. Would you know that you are alive if you didn't have any of your senses?
Mm. And how do you answer that question for yourself? If I was to ask you that in meditation, because there's many types of meditation. Zen meditation, you actually meditate not with your eyes closed. You have opened your eyes. There's walking meditation. There is, mindfulness practice of meditation. So many things. I know that for me, trying it on for me, not for others, meditation brings me a deeper state of equanimity, more clarity, more ability to return to calm when I lose it, more ability to be stronger when the triggers in life come to me. I'm able to take more responsibility for my creation. So for you, how is that?
Okay, this is the easiest way I could explain it. It's like tabs. So people have tabs, they have apps open on their phones, and there's a million apps, there's a million tabs open. And meditation allows me to decrease the amount of those tabs. But for me, I'm never able to turn off all the tabs. Maybe I have 3 tabs open. So I find that meditation allows me to be more productive and focus on one task at a time. For me, my friends tell me I have ADD. And apparently I believe I do, because I have all these ideas and all these thoughts.
Oh, we
And
all have it. Anyone that is creator or producer, I'm highly in ADD. But you know what, Shadin, I'm going to give you an option, an invitation. Begin to tell your ADD. That's what I say about mine. That is awareness in divine direction.
awareness and divine direction. Apparently
Multiple awarenesses.
it's a superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love that you say, I love the tabs, and you and I know, we have a fellow ally that was in the group of Team Robert. His name is Ben Lucas. He's such a trainer on Shaolin. And,
Oh, yes,
I just did a whole 100-day nonstop. And you know how obsessed he is. And me too, training on the Shaolin tradition and tea. And he was showing me the same thing as you. He was actually showing me his screen of his computer, how little tabs he have. In the meantime, ADD Queen here is like 1,000 tabs open. I'm like, okay, this is going to be an interesting journey, but I get it. And I love this example that you just did, because you being able to explain it to people is like, how many tabs do you guys have open? And Shadi, I love your enthusiasm. This is something I appreciate of you so much. And probably I'm going to ask you very challenging, a little, well, not for you, but for some people would be challenging. So
Yeah.
your enthusiasm, your zest for living, you've always been very outspoken. I loved about that about you. Regardless of the pushback that we sometimes often get, how do you manage when you are so alive, so eager to explore living, to share with people love? I think people think that sharing love is easy. Oh no, not in a world that is aimed for Photoshop winning and Photoshop production. So how do you deal with that? With the skills that you have, with choosing love, with your mindset trainings. How do you deal when people push back on you, when they challenge you so much because of your enthusiasm and your way of living?
I think everybody's a projection of each other. I think we're one big global consciousness where everybody's connected in some way. And when people push back at what I'm doing, I think they're just projecting their insecurities, their fears, their sometimes shortcomings, because I've done it myself. I've been in a state of fear. I've been in a state of anxiety. I've been in a state of, I've had suicidal ideations. I got into drug use, cocaine, um, and I've done all of that. And that's why I know how it feels to judge another person, to be like, why is he doing that? Like,
Oh,
why is
that's
he so love?
nice.
That
That's
word
good.
love, by the way, the word love, that
Yes.
word was super triggering for me for nearly a year and a half.
Well,
I couldn't
how
even,
so? Tell us a little bit about that. I
like,
think that's
so
important. Yeah.
the story is, for me, I ran off to LA in 2019 to fully go into this business, and then COVID hit, and I had to come back, and I made some bad business decisions, et cetera, et cetera. Had to move back in with my parents. I rented my house out, so then COVID happened, and I thought I made the worst mistake in my life by doing this business, and I'm like, I'll never recover. And then I started having suicide ideations, and it got to the point where I couldn't even see my name, my birthday. Like, I was literally had to write my birthday down, because I was a nurse supervisor at a nursing home, and we had to like do tests, and we had to write our birth. I couldn't even write my birthday down. Like, I didn't want to write my birthday. I didn't want to see my name. I didn't want to see my address. Like, it got to that point. And I think for people that are struggling right now psychologically with depression, anxiety, Tony Robbins says something that's, I believe, is very, very true from my experience, is that how can the worst thing in your life actually be the best thing? Again, it's all perspective. So I found that the darkness that I went through, it actually brought me to this light. That's why I have a zest for life. I want to live to be 100, like 100, and I'm aiming for 111, 109, something along those lines. But I have that zest now because I felt how it is. I felt the other side of heaven. I've been in hell. And I think
Mm.
everything, there's always a yin and yang, right? There's a positive and negative. There's sunlight and there's darkness, right?
Yes.
So
Well,
I think,
that's part of life. So let's you shared something that I want to bring this yin and yang, all the Tony Robbins. By the way, he was my mentor. I was in the platinum training with him many years ago, and I really admire and respect him. So you shared. Hold on, because I'm not checking my notes. You have this mental fitness and the always choose love philosophy. Now, what are right now that you are so driven, you are getting out of social media? That's like Ben, our friend Ben, got so much out of social media that now he doesn't even has ability to communicate with others. But what do you tell with this philosophy of mindset and choose love philosophy? How can we grow into more power, into more resilience and presence, that we don't have to remove anything, because all of that doesn't has any more power to remove from us our energy? Think about it. Let's enter into meditation together.
can you repeat the question before
Yes,
we?
yes. So how? Because I know that you remove social media, you're removing things, and and you're sharing so much out of your passion and your and the passion for helping others choose love and being in a state of deep meditation and mindfulness. But what of your philosophy? What of your skills as you grow into them more and as you help people get more results? How can we help people with this philosophy, not having to remove anything? Like, Yvonne, you don't have to remove your social media or anything because it's no longer going to have power over you, right? Because as long as I think that something has power over me, that something is removing energy from me, well, it's going to have it. Why? Because I'm giving it. So how would you use your techniques, your mindset gym, your philosophy of love to help people mature in that awareness and be more resilient and present, to understand that there's no way that they can leak energy if they don't choose?
Yeah, so you said the word choice. We always have a choice. It's always about a choice. So for me, love is many different things. So I have something called Lovergram. If you go to my website, ShadinEl-Kasheef.com, I write a loveogram every day, and love is the full spectrum of everything. So you have a choice. So yesterday I went back on and I posted something and then I left. So how people can not remove anything, they can still be on social media, but they can, it's about discipline, right? If you can discipline yourself, for instance, to say no to that cookie and you want to reach a weight loss goal, then you're going to reach it eventually if you keep saying no to the cookie, right? Or the sugar. So how people can utilize it is make your own definition of what love is. So fitness is the easiest thing because a lot of people want to achieve fitness goals. So love is being 165 pounds, for instance, for me, right? So that's your goal. You don't have you have to remove some things, unfortunately, because you want to reach that goal if that's what your definition of love is. So in order to do that, using the philosophy, you have to radically accept where you are and then utilize the growth mindset to choose your definition of love. So say your definition of love is being the best parent there is. So you have to choose the thoughts and actions that are in alignment with what that value is, whatever love is, and utilize the growth mindset to learn how to be a better parent, to experience the different experiences that you need to become a better parent, and then use mindfulness and meditation to be present with your kids. Because I think, I'm not a parent, again, I'm just speaking from experience and my observations, is that kids don't have perspective. As I said earlier, life's just perspective. So if you're staring at the black mirror, aka your cell phone, all the time, your kids are looking at you like, oh, that cell phone is more important than me, but they don't know that you're actually texting a business partner or you're doing work on there. So I think that people have to have their own definition of what love is, and then take the thoughts and actions that are in alignment with whatever that is, in order to kind of move towards that. Because again, we're ultimately moving towards a state of we're moving towards a higher consciousness, but like, we're always improving. There's always something to learn. That's why I said I prefaced this whole thing with I don't know anything, because truly there's so much to learn. And through the internet, that's why I like social media. You learn a lot from it. And I'm not completely disconnecting from social media because it allows me to connect to people. And that's how we can, even through this podcast, we're able to connect and help whoever listens, hopefully, gain a new perspective on whatever it is that they're struggling with.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that because, we're about to promote everywhere in social media. We'll be connecting with them. And I love your enthusiasm. I love the purpose of your mission, vision, purpose of love, of helping people eliminate psychological suffering worldwide as a worthy goal to do the work. I pay tribute to you for getting out of drugs, for doing that work, for bringing compassion to that area. We've been interviewing a lot of people that are helping people through that, and for taking a step forwards and lovewards into the direction of being a better human and supporting humans be better too. I think that's the beginning of the end of psychological suffering. And so, Shadid, in Buddhism, the people that commit to that, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to leave this to you. We're about to end this podcast, but this is the path of the bodhisattvas. The bodhisattvas were the humans, just like you and I, that are committed to mastery, that are committed to serve people, that are committed to love people, but that they chose in Buddhism, right? Not to get enlightened. Imagine that. I mean, I cannot fathom. And to stay in the world as many lifetimes as they could until suffering will disappear from humanity. And so you're in that path. Like Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, everybody's a bodhisattva, because as long as you want to help make the world a little better place and you want to help someone be free from suffering, that's the path you take. So you are really awesome, Shadin. It was so awesome to have you. Very quickly, tell us about your mental fitness 4 steps, radical acceptance that you already shared. The 4 steps, just name them with your words, and then invite people to follow you wherever they need to follow you. And we will make sure to put every information of you in our copy, in all the platforms, etc. So go.
Sounds good. So mental fitness is simple. There's 4 easy steps. Actually, they're not easy. It takes work and practice every day, but you radically accept where you are, because without radical acceptance, you can't move forward. You utilize a growth mindset, which is essentially just doing the work to improve whatever situation you want to improve, and then use mindfulness and meditation to help you along that journey, because it's gonna be hard. You're gonna actually experience setbacks during your pursuit of whatever it is that you want to change. And those are the 4 steps. Basically, utilize the growth mindset. Radically accept where you are. Utilize the growth mindset to change whatever it is that you can change. So, the serenity prayer. God grant me the.
Yes, I love it. Say it. If you know it, say a little
I
bit.
don't remember it, but basically accept what you can and change
Yes.
what you can. Like for me, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I'm 5'9". I wish I was 6 feet tall. But I have to radically accept that I'm not gonna be 6 feet tall, right? And
Yes.
what I can change though is my weight. I can work. I cannot eat the cookies. I'm at Starbucks. I don't eat anything at Starbucks, by the way, because everything has sugar.
That's willpower right there.
Yeah. And then basically use mindfulness and then meditation. Everybody thinks meditation is this like we have to go into the mountains and get into these weird yoga poses. Meditation is whatever puts you in the moment. So some people, they like to paint. Some people, they like to listen to music. They like to dance. Some people like to play sports, exercise. So whatever puts you in the moment, moving your body, because we can't think our way out of a bad mood. We have to move our body. And for kids, for instance, if kids are like suffering and they're going through anxiety, they need to do something physical because they don't have perspective about meditating. And they're like, what is meditation? What is awareness? They don't know what those words mean. They haven't experienced life enough, right? So moving your body, even as an adult, will help with that. And then mindfulness, again, mindfulness is pretty much in alignment with meditation, because when you're meditating, you're actually in the moment. So when people are making love, they're in the moment. They're not thinking about anything else, right? Majority of the time. But yeah, essentially those are the 4 steps. And then
That's awesome. Radical acceptance, growth mindset, mindfulness, and meditation. You are so awesome. I love your enthusiasm. I can't wait to witness the growth of your passion, the growth of your mission. And just for everybody, just to hear it. And we're going to complete like this. Thanks to Shadin. We're going to end together with the prayer for serenity. The serenity prayer, that's the one that you say, right?
Yes. And I love what you said before we end.
Yes, please.
You say you said lover words, something along those lines. I like that word.
Love words instead of
Love words, yes,
forward. You can
words.
use it, Shadin. Use it. Say, this is a blessing. I was initiated in the Spirituality Now podcast to carry this sword as a warrior of love that I am, of peace and of love. We're going to love words and God words. And the serenity prayer is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as beloved Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right. If I surrender to your will so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next one. Okay, this is Reinhold Niebuhr, the Serenity Prayer, and I did the Christian version, everyone. So, amen. Shadin, thank you so much for bringing your joy, your enthusiasm, your passion here to the podcast today. We're going to share all the information of you, where they can reach out to you, your website, your movements, etc., etc. Thank you from my heart to yours. Anything else you want to say goodbye to our friends?
I want to say 3 simple words. Always choose love.
Bring it on. We love you. Love words, everybody. We will see you next week again. All the platforms where the podcasts are, and soon in video. Un besito. Adios. We hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where you prefer to listen to your podcast. Make sure to check the links to everything we mentioned in this episode. For more news, future or past episodes, or for any other inquiry, please visit our website at delaflorteachings.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast.